Greetings and welcome back, everyone, to Into the Nexus, recorded in as timely a fashion as we could make happen. I'm Garrett Weinzierl, here as always with Kyle Ferguson. Kyle, I got a bone to pick.
A bone?
I got a wing to pick, I guess. I got a wing to pick.
Oh, okay.
I got a wing to pick. You and I planned out this month. We put a lot of work into thinking about how the hell this month was going to play out because I had a lot of traveling going on this week or this month. You had a lot of new parenting going on this month.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and we knew in the run up to BlizzCon, there were going to be weeks where it was going to be very difficult for us to do a normal show at Thursday at a normal time. So, put a lot of work. We sat down. We worked with Not Paradox. We got two strategy-deep conversations that we can point to as evergreen. That, oh, good. No matter when we release this, it's going to be good. It's going to be informative. We're going to teach people things. And then a big patch hit, and we're like, cool, we're in the clear. There is no universe in the Nexus or out of the Nexus where anything of note could possibly come after this patch because we are so close to BlizzCon. We're good. Let's record a patch episode and we will put that out also while I am traveling. And we thought, Kyle, we had cracked it. We had done it. We had done the impossible. We scheduled almost an entire month of Heroes of the Storm programming and still kept it topical and useful to our listeners. And then Deathwing was announced.
What fools we were.
What fools we were indeed. If YouTube comments are to be believed, Kyle, we are the biggest idiots in the world.
Because wait, why is that?
We didn't. There's a lot of people on there who are like just laughing at us or mad that we didn't talk about Deathwing and are unclear of the fact that it is pre-recorded.
Sure.
So to them, I would say we haven't heard from the Heroes team all year. We used to hear from them before Blizzard fired over 800 people. And the team has not talked to us. We have reached out to the team. We have not heard back from the team in any official aspect. We have personal friends on the team whose jobs it is not to talk to us, and they don't share information with us that they're not supposed to share. But as far as hearing from the Heroes of the Storm team in any official capacity, we haven't for the entire year of 2019. So we had no clue this was coming and couldn't possibly have seen it coming, which kind of, I want to kick things off, Kyle, before we get into the nitty-gritty of Deathwing, with a question, and that question is, what the hell are they going to talk about at BlizzCon?
Yeah. Well, could we have seen it coming? Because perhaps Cataclysm was that expansion announced before BlizzCon, and people in the WoW community were saying the very same thing then? Is this some sort of wild Cataclysm tie-in that they've pulled off?
That's a deep effing cut, man. If you're trying to pull nostalgia on announcement dates, that is the biggest tinfoil hat. Why is my local grocery store out of aluminum foil?
Oh, okay. I see what you did there. Yeah, it's pretty weird. It's gonna be a weird year. I have my expectations thoroughly bolted to the floor. I am expecting the following quote: "And we continue to support our classic games department, StarCraft 2, Diablo Seasons, and Deathwing is coming to Heroes of the Storm." Hey! But moving on.
As far as opening ceremony is concerned, I'm with you. Like probably a little Deathwing footage and some sort of montage.
I don't know. There's no, the stage is for cutscenes. It's for cinematics, and we did not receive the budget.
There's always some sort of like pre-hype reel. Well, usually where it's like, you are Blizzard, and there's a bunch of community stuff crammed together with gameplay footage of things that are not news. And then at the end, there's always like a super cut of everything they just talked about, plus some things we may have already known about, but is still obviously coming to the games. That's where I'm talking. I don't think they're going to be like, and now watch the Deathwing trailer that's been on YouTube for 2 weeks. They're not going to do that. I'm just saying, like, at the very end when it's like, BlizzCon 2019, Diablo 4, Overwatch 2, Diablo 2 remastered, Deathwing in the Nexus, World of Warcraft expansion, Hearthstone expansion. You know, it's like super cut. of the end. Like, and now go. The tents are down. You know what the games are. Get in line for a demo. That's going to be it.
Okay. Yeah. I feel it.
Yeah. I also, your analogy of your expectations being bolted firmly to the floor. Great. Love it. I'm in the same place. The only place where I'm kind of curious is there is a Heroes of the Storm panel. We know a panel's coming. What the heck are they going to talk about on the panel? My brain is at, Kyle, and we can get to this. We can dig deeper into this, but it goes with this conversation, that question I asked. I think it's going to be nitty gritty. I think we're going to be talking about like number adjustments, the XP game, whatever changes are coming to that. It's going to be like a nitty gritty number discussion about what's going to be coming for our holiday patch.
I don't know. I think it'll maneuver its way through the various topics. I expect quite a bit of art talk about Deathwing. We know there are effects tied to Tassadar that I'm sure they'd like to show off. Maybe a little bit of that diva business. I'd love to hear about the lanes. I'd love to hear what's happening there. That is our time, our 45 minutes with the devs, but I don't really need it. And that's kind of the crazy thing about Heroes of the Storm right now. We do not need BlizzCon to communicate with our devs. They're around all the time. If any of the devs on that stage are like, by the way, spoiler alert, and then like pull out a napkin and are like, and they draw like a cow with an upper body head, we're like, Mataroth, hurrah! They promised, and we know it'll happen. We don't. There's so little game playing outside, of course, their fabulous memeage with the Deathwing release being like, hey, well, remember the Diva thing? Oh, we tricked you then. We're doing it again. Diva rework. No, luckily that was Deathwing, and they were full in the know what we were thinking about there. So I want them to have fun up there. I want them to show off the game. Maybe it brings players back. It's kind of weird. The whole thing is a while back and forth. Your heart is broken, then she calls you up and you're like, oh, you want to hang out, but then other people are there. You thought it was going to be a date, but maybe it's not. I'm not sure anymore. Wait, everyone left. Oh, okay. No, never mind. We have a poster outside. Okay, we have a poster. It says the necklace welcomes you, but as Orpheus. We're like, okay, cool. So original characters. All right. So people go in and they expect hero stuff. But Hearthstone took our stage. And I'm like, oh, man, that was our stage. I don't know. We used to share a stage with WoW, but now, like, the Hearthstone thing, man, I don't know about that. It's a card game. We got moved out for a freaking card game. Like, we must be pretty lame to have that
happen. Hold on a second. Walk yourself back, Kyle.
No way, man.
Can you take a breath?
I'm pissed.
Can you take a breath?
Okay.
Just a moment.
All right.
Just breathe with me. Everyone who was moving at the speed of Kyle right now, breathe with me. Breathe with me. And remember, HGC's gone. What were they going to use that stage for, Kyle?
I know.
There's no point to have that stage there.
I know.
They've got
and Hearthstone was banished to the Nether Realm in that weird back room.
When they originally did that, I thought it was a smart call. Hearthstone and the way that they had been like adding picnic tables to their live events for people to sit at so they could play Hearthstone while they watched the game play out. They took a different approach to the kind of spectator experience for a Hearthstone stage. And it was disparate in the years up until then in its presence at BlizzCon, because the tavern was up by the Darkmoon Faire in its own room, but the Hearthstone stage was down in the main area and looked amazing, like Disney World level of theming, but they weren't anywhere near each other. So when the North Hall opened and they had all this extra square footage and Hearthstone got moved there and they put the Hearthstone Tavern with the Hearthstone stage with the Hearthstone demo area, to me that made all the sense in the world, because there's only so much space. Why not put it over there? But then they also moved their Premier Esports away from it and through HGG at BlizzCon, which I don't like or care about, so I tend to project on it, but also considering how many butts were not in seats the last 2 years as far as Hearthstone's concerned, I feel like my opinion is shared by a decent chunk of the player base. Sorry,
okay.
You mentioned Hearthstone on the North Hall and you made me go off on a rant. Anyways,
No,
whatever the
fair.
case is, this all makes sense to me. I wasn't expecting a hero stage because why would you have one if you don't have an esport? The stage was used for the esport. We didn't have panels on that stage. The panels took place on the panel stages. That was strictly an HGC stage.
Totally. Perfectly. I understand the logistics of it. It still burns a little bit to see. And
well, yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, if you want to talk about like, we're having, I think, as Heroes fans, mixed emotions right now because we're getting a hero many of us have always wanted, while at the same time having the starkest reminder that our esport is gone right now. So to that, I say I'm with you, and I also feel sad.
But let me take this journey back into hell for a moment before we climb our way out.
Okay.
We're gonna crap.
A wise man, Pat Oswald once said, "I'm going to take you into Mordor. I'm going to bring you right back to the Shire."
Joseph Campbell. We're gonna Joseph Campbell this biz.
Don't know who that is, but okay.
The hero's journey, Star Wars. You know, you gotta go on the journey. You gotta have your low point. You have to say, I can't go with you to Alderaan. I got family here, but then your family gets blown up, and then you recover and you go with Ben Kenobi and you have an adventure. So we're gonna blow up the family, but it's gonna be okay. All right. So you go looking for heroes, and you see that it's in the basement, and you go, whoa, wait a minute. What's Heroes doing in the basement? That's a little weird. Down there next to such things as Rock and Roll Racing demo, Blackthorn demo. What's going on here?
For context, because we haven't talked about this on the show, the BlizzCon map is out, and we now know that Hall E, which is where we used to go pick up our badges, which has been moved, is now referred to as the Blizzard Arcade. And there's basically demos for every Blizzard game you can think of that probably isn't getting anything new announced for it.
No, but neat that there's like an arcade station for you to go play Lost Vikings should you so desire.
And when I say everything, I mean Rock and Roll Racing, Lost Vikings, Blackthorn, Diablo 1, Diablo 2, Diablo 3. All the StarCraft 2 is down there. Like literally every Blizzard game that's probably not going to have anything new announced for it at BlizzCon is down in the arcade. So to me, I'm following you. I get why you're kind of like, Heroes once again getting relegated to the dusty basement, but I think the arcade's kind of a rad idea.
Right. And that's where we make our way to the bar and onto the Millennium Falcon. Like the chance that might be the totally groove in place and perfect for Here's the Storm is there. It's down there with the cinema, which many, many years ago when there was very little to do at BlizzCon, I ended up sitting in for a period of time. It was kind of cool.
It was a nice place to rest your bum and hear the cinematics with a sound system you can't afford.
Exactly. You got Joey Ray's Bar down there, which is a pretty cool little StarCraft themed drink station. You got the Slaughtered Calf Inn, which is a very nicely themed Diablo kind of drink station. You have the streaming station, so there's some popularity. There's going to be personalities moving around down there. And that could really give Heroes of the Storm a LAN party feel at BlizzCon. And if that's the case, that's going to be a cool place to be. And I'm okay with it.
Yes, and that's where you should have Heroes, in my opinion.
I think it's right in the end. And the escalator that was previously for like security and people only is now how you access the basement Blizzard Arcade. So it's not like you got to completely leave the con, turn around, go down the stairs and get weird. You can stay in the mood, ride an escalator, and end up down in town.
You're going to have to move through where most people pose for cosplay photos. So you're going to have to move through all these dope-ass costumes to get on an escalator to go down to the arcade. It's fine. It's all fine, Kyle. But
it could be all right.
Yep. Anyways, do you have a tinfoil hat theory as to why they announced Deathwing ahead of BlizzCon?
Honestly, I think Heroes knew what was up. It all is, to me, telling in the fact that we didn't get the cinematic money for it. There is no stage presence in that announcement. That is for fans, for us to enjoy. The Brightwing, even Banjo-Kazooie-esque flip around that they pulled was very cute. And they knew how much they were messing with fans. That was made for fans of the game already. When you get on the main stage, you're talking to every media website out there and investors. And they've made it clear that Here's the Storm is not for your money investing opportunities. It is a passion project for our devs.
Well, when you put it that way, good. I'm glad that's my game.
Yeah.
Oh, rad. Well, cool, man. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat. Also, I think part of it probably just came down to they have too many things to announce during the opening ceremonies this year.
It would have gotten overrun.
Yes. There's just a lot going on. So, anyways, before we get into the nitty gritty of what makes Deathwing in the Nexus, we want to thank those of you supporting us over at patreon.com/ITN. If you enjoy Into the Nexus, if you enjoy what Kyle and I do week in and week out, even when I'm traveling and can't record an episode and Deathwing is announced and we got to wait a little bit to do it, head on over to patreon.com/ITN and consider supporting the show. Every bit helps. However much you want to pay for your episode of Into the Nexus, we very much appreciate it. And to some of our newer patrons, we'd like to thank Steve M., David S., Hamilton B., Nicholas S., and Thomas W. Thank you for the support, everyone. And now for the video version, you're going to know that Kyle walked away. For the audio version, I'm going to pause right here. They'll never know.
I try to be stealthy. It's the cat.
Oh, I assumed it was a baby emergency.
No, I'm good.
Cool. So, Kyle, with that, let's get into this week's Heroes of the Storm news.
We're on, boys! Ha-ha! Let's liven up this place!
The moment is upon us.
Yes, I'd mana tap that.
By the way, it does turn out that shaking in the Nexus still is the coming of Deathwing.
Yes, and let's spend a hot moment talking about that. Because with the limited resources available, nice job, Heroes team. That was cool. How odd that they chose to do this event at the same time that Fortnite did its Chapter 2. They were isolated events. No, I'm dead serious. I'm talking about the future of video gaming. I'm not critiquing the bigness of what the Heroes team was able to pull off. Merely that I love this as a feature. I can't wait for this sort of thing to become the norm, to become the way that we experience patches.
I certainly hope so. I mean, I think it was, I don't think they timed it intentionally. I think it was a happy coincidence.
Absolutely. It can't be compared, but they did happen in the general same time. And the video game zeitgeist moves forward. This is what we'll be doing into the future. And I want to take a hot moment to say, bring it on. I love the Lich King event back in the day. And I think everyone who complained still had their game functioning. Fortnite was down for 3 days. Like, what? Are you insane? Like, just let these sort of cool things happen. Bring it on.
Yeah. I mean, I don't follow Fortnite at all. It's not my jam. More of a PUBG or Apex guy. Even I was enamored with what the hell was going on with Fortnite. I followed it. I read all about it. I was legitimately interested in what was going on, and I think it was rad as hell what they did over there. So good on them. I love these kind of events too, Kyle. I am with you. Let's keep them coming. But dude, Deathwing it's happening. The hero is finally coming to the Nexus. We don't have a date. We know it's going to be post BlizzCon, but I feel vindicated in some of my comments because, like, very recently we were talking about the possibility of Deathwing, and I'm pretty sure I mentioned, I think it was on the show, maybe it was on Instance, I don't know. I talked about Blizzard games too many places. Somewhere I mentioned that I really think Deathwing is a challenge. If I was on the Heroes team, I would assume that would be a big kind of Soul of the Hero challenge because, yes, Deathwing technically has a human form like Alexstrasza, but that is not what any of us think of when we think of Deathwing. When you think of Deathwing, you think of the box art for Cataclysm. You think of that Cataclysm cinematic. You think of a giant dragon with metal plates nailed into his scales. And if I was sitting here and tasked with bringing that character into the Nexus, I would fight tooth and nail against having Deathwing, even an option of Deathwing being in human form.
Definitely. It is bold. And I applaud the strength of the choices they made. And they also made a Deathwing that everyone can enjoy. Because there's some weird stuff. Like, if you never raided Deathwing, which I didn't, I've seen the videos, I don't know what the hell's going on with all that scab ripping off. I'm glad it wasn't really incorporated into the hero because there's like lava tentacles and there's also Deathwing. He has like burrowing. He burrows in the ground. He's from Deepholm or something.
You're talking about the raid fight?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to get too big into it, but there's basically 2 Deathwing fights, one like on his back, and then the final is like he crashes into the Maelstrom and he's melting and falling apart. He's like this monster at the end of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of like references that I didn't need to just enjoy a giant badass dragon.
Fair. I love that fight. It, to me, saved Cataclysm from being like dumpster tier expansion and really kind of pulled it out at the end. I liked it. But whatever the case, dragon all the time. Deathwing is massive. In the video, in the stream that they put, was it a stream or was it a video? I watched it after the fact. It was
pre-recorded.
Had
but
to be
it was
pre-recorded, yeah, because the cuts were too good. The cuts were too well done for it to be live. Yeah, so I in that video with Trixler, with Jay Howe, we got to see Deathwing played in multiple games, and it was mentioned that the body blocking, the actual circle radius of Deathwing is basically the same size as Asmodan, and Deathwing's model is actually larger than Alexstrasza's. So this is the largest model to date, and the hitbox ties with Asmo. That's great.
Yeah, so you're hitting his main body where his feet tend to lay. His head, his tail is not exactly interacting with the environment around them, but it still has the advancements in tech and art that they made with Alexstrasza with his head turning. So even though he's massive, he's not on a spinning top. And oh man, that's dangerously close to another rant I really want to go on about BlizzCon, but I'll save it for our BlizzCon talk later. He looks good, really good. And he flows in his model without being foreign to the environment around him.
Yeah, I feel like we say this every damn time a hero is added to this game, but the art team is crazy. They are so good at what they do, and Deathwing feels a bit like a crowning achievement because it's just bananas. I felt this way. I haven't felt this way about a hero since Cho'Gall, and just the audacity of the team to say this is what we're doing and then actually make it happen and make it work and make it functional.
There's been a number of achievements along the way, and for my own excitement as such a long-time MOBA player, they've been things like the Dragon Head, Lucio riding on walls, Diablo's interaction with terrain, like all that stuff's been very, very cool. And for them to realize, to go outside of the game and take that step to say, we can do this in its highest form, but he's unstoppable at all times. And he is also, therefore, uninteractable with his team. Now, there's some cute stuff already floating around the web, like people have come up with healing globes work on him. So if you do Alexstrasza Circle of Life quest at 1, you can create healing globes that might be able to heal Deathwing. That's a cool little workaround. But for the most part, he is beyond your interaction. He is his own force. And since he has no need for a slowed, unstoppable, stunned hero bar, they took the extra step beyond and made his art look like an elite panel from World of Warcraft.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, the bar is already just visually larger than any other health bar on the map. There's also the additional added UI element on the bar of the plate segments of where you need to damage him to knock a plate off, which gets into his trade. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but for right now, just know that there's an added UI interface, a UI element on his health bar. There's just so many nice little touches on top of one of the most not subtle heroes ever added into this game. I'm just so impressed by it. I'm going to stop gushing and let's just move into some nitty gritty stuff. We haven't talked about his 2 forms. There's essentially 2 forms. It looks the same. It's not like human dragon form or anything like that, but it's Destroyer or World Breaker, and this changes the way Deathwing's W and E abilities work depending on if you're in Destroyer, and these abilities work more in the melee range, or World Breaker. Think of it as stance. which is where that is more range skewed for your W and your E ability. I like talking about this as stances more than forms.
Yeah, it's a great way for them to expand the feel of the dragon, his interaction on the battle, but he would have been imbalanced with all these in one go. In particular, destroyer form, I believe, destroyer form. Yes, destroyer form allows him to lunge forward, which is his only escape of any kind. And if that was always available to him with the tools he would have for AoE business in Worldbreaker form, it would have gone too far.
Yeah, the whole thing, there's a push and pull with this character that I really like. And not that I think they've ever taken liberties or gone too fast and not taken the time to really focus on what they want out of each hero they've made, but it really does seem like they really took their time with Deathwing. Because when I first I watched the video and I just like did a quick read through of abilities and I'm like, okay, cool. Probably going to be Cho'Gall, probably going to be another kind of gimmicky hero that's really unique and it makes us want to play the game, but maybe isn't the most like meta defining thing in the world. And yet when you sit there and you listen to the devs talk about it, it really does feel like they're trying to make this hero work in the Heroes of the Storm meta. So much so as to his role on the battlefield in the way he fits into a team unit. Because you talk about how he's unstoppable, which is awesome and great for the Deathwing, but it comes at a price. The price is that your own teammates can't help you. They can't interact with you. An Anduin can't pull you out of danger. None of your healers can heal you. You can't even pick up a damn Deckard potion for crying out loud, which is honestly
you cannot ride a Medivh portal.
Correct. So all of that. So you think to yourself, ooh, okay, Deathwing's going to breed some selfish players. This is going to teach players to just worry about themselves, not worry about the team, so on and so forth. And yet, there was a good time spent in the stream, and I'm so glad that they focused on this, talking about how, yeah, you could solo lane with Deathwing. You can certainly make short work of a wave, but you're probably not going to win the 1v1 fight. They really spent a lot of time focusing on how he is not a 1v1 hero, and he really shines in the 4-stack. Let someone else go off in solo lane. Deathwing really excels in a multi-hero fight, and I think that's cool as hell.
Yeah, he has the Alarak treatment, and that'll stop him from doing absurd damage to the lane while still doing better damage to heroes. So that 100% bonus damage to heroes with his abilities and stuff like that. Combine that with he can fly anywhere he wants, but he has to have sight already. Combine that with an interruption of any sort of attack, like you're Hearthstoning to pull off that fly, putting you on a 4-second cooldown. He is absurd, yet extremely tame. There is counterplay available to you. And while I'm sure he'll have first ban, first pick kind of status just for funness and desire to be played, there is a world where the enemy team, and we fought this sort of thing, is so CC heavy that I don't know what your options are in the current roster. And if you can see that ETC Uther pile coming at you and you say, awesome, let's do a tactical Deathwing here to interrupt all that freely, is awesome.
I like it as well. It's just projection. How many months do you think we're all going to be trying to get Deathwing just mindlessly in the draft?
Oh, it's going to last, man. My games this week were changed dramatically. There is a huge influx of players to Heroes of the Storm right now. This set the fans alight, and there's a lot of hype, and people want to be trying out the new ranked mode, and there's rewards tied behind it. It got super weird, like as a tank main, my DPS were not as reliable as they once were, and good on it. I'm working on some new heroes. I think this is going to be a huge impact to the playership for a while.
Well, welcome back, Heroes of the Storm players. We just put out 2 episodes. One's called solo drafting. The other's called team drafting. They're thick. Go learn yourself something. Yeah. So anyways, back to Deathwing nitty gritty. He's classified as a bruiser. They've mentioned multiple times he has tank-like health. They said it's slightly more than Stitches. but does take, but he does quite a lot of damage, and his CC is not very reliable because his abilities have wind-ups. So not a tank, which makes sense. You can't freaking heal him. You would need to throw a lot of health at someone, I think, for them to classify as a tank that you can't heal. On top of the other things we already mentioned, like his wind-up and whatnot. They also said that Deathwing is still very much a work in progress in their mind, that it's very likely we're going to see changes to what we saw in the reveal stream, and going to be playable on the BlizzCon floor. I'll let you know what he's like, Kyle.
Sounds good.
I'll report live from the floor, except not because the Wi-Fi signal is terrible in there. We'll do a proper episode of Into the Nexus post BlizzCon to wrap all of this up.
Perfect.
Yeah. And then, as we mentioned, the date for his release not specified. What's your best guess, Kyle? You think PTR immediately following BlizzCon and then release the week after?
Yeah, they do have those feedback stations at BlizzCon, so I'd give it 2 weeks. 2 weeks after BlizzCon, we get PTR. Maybe we do 1 week into PTR, then week live.
I think it's too long. I think 1 week after BlizzCon, PTR.
All right, I'm down
longest.
For it. I don't
the longest I'm expecting. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. I'm not reading into BlizzCon feedback as a major delay of this hero hitting the Nexus. Shall we get into his abilities?
Let's do that.
Sweet. Well, Deathwing's trait is called Aspect of Death. He gets a 100% bonus damage to heroes. So this is he. Although that said, he's still very good at clearing lanes.
Yeah, it takes the majority of his channel to clear the lane, so you'll be spent energy-wise.
Yes. Yeah, he's energy-based. He's permanently unstoppable, which you already mentioned. He cannot be affected by allied abilities. We mentioned that. And we've made reference to armor plates, but we haven't exactly described how they work. Deathwing enters the game with 40 armor, quote-unquote permanent armor, when he's at 100 health. He loses 10 armor with every 25% of health that he loses. This is the armor plate mechanic. So if you're a World of Warcraft fan or even a remote, Warcraft nerd like I am, he's got the Elementium plates on him, and part of the raid fight was actually getting those plates off of him so you could actually damage him. That's what this is. Now, that being said, if you do get your Deathwing back up above one of those 25% marks, you do not automatically get that plate back. You do not get that armor back just by moving, getting back over that those 25% chunk thresholds. You have you can only regenerate your armor plates by using his Z ability, his unique mount ability, which we'll talk about in just a second. You do not get this from healing from a fountain or from collecting a ton of globes, or whatever other cute way you come up with of healing your Deathwing. So, somewhat an inverse Garrosh, but not 1-to-1, because you don't get the armor back in such a clean fashion as Garrosh gains and loses armor. So,
right, and the fall off mechanic being based on the damage you take and lowering, Garrosh is weak to burst because he receives the damage and then applies the armor. So we can say that Deathwing is weak to sustain, as those continued hits would lower his armor, eventually allowing those bigger hits to maybe hit stronger. But Poke seemed extremely powerful against him in the videos they showed.
That was another big kind of main highlight talking point, it felt like, on the stream, where they were like, yeah, sustained Poke, it feels effective. Because if you remove one of these armor plates, it's gone until he either dies and respawns or uses his Z flight ability, which is on a long cooldown. In fact, let's talk about it right now. It's called Dragon Flight. This is Deathwing's unique Z ability. Yeah, so cute. I wonder how they came up with that name. I'm sure there was a lot of meetings. So Deathwing can unfortunately not ride a Wonder Billy. I am sorry, chat room. After a 3-second channel, like you said, Kyle, it's basically a Hearthstone channel, Deathwing flies into the sky, leaves the map entirely. He restores health over time while in the air. A lot of health, I would add. And he can also do his stance while he's in the air. He can choose between Destroyer or Worldbreaker, and then he can land on any point with vision, as you mentioned. But you do need vision. That's very important. You're in the air until you choose your Destroyer or Worldbreaker. Then the channel can be interrupted by taking damage, and it will be put on a 4-second cooldown, which I already mentioned. Other abilities have a 3-second cooldown after landing, and landing deals damage in an area near Deathwing. And then, as mentioned, this is also how you regenerate your armor plates and get back up to that 40 armor if you didn't die when you lost it.
Right. And there may be some tactical death options here. We heard it is about a 2% regen a second, which means if you barely got out, you're looking at about 50 seconds in the air, which is a really long time to not participate at all. In the early game, you might want to just kick the bucket rather than flying around in circles for a while. The better Deathwing will avoid the poke in the first place and have a higher impact, but will also realize the amount of taxation on their team they're going to have if they're flying around in the air all the time from unnecessary damage.
Yeah, I think that's a lesson we're all going to be learning pretty much out the gate with Deathwing, because we're going to think to ourselves, oh, it's fine, I'll just Dragonflight, and we're going to notice the longer we're out of the game, the lower our win rate goes. So it's going to be something we're going to have to keep in the back of our minds. Let's just rip this one off. Dude starts with a heroic. Deathwing is Tracer, Kyle. Starts with a baseline heroic called Cataclysm. This looks straight out of the Cataclysm cinematics. Spread wings, flying across, leaving fire on the ground in his wake in a massive straight line. Pretty much the width of like a lava wave, but you can choose what direction it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he flies off the ground. There's a bit of a wind-up time. He flies over a massive area in front of him, and you can choose the direction he goes. It burns everyone below him, and it scorches the ground for several seconds. It's his only heroic ability, and again, available at the start of the game.
Well, there's another option at 10.
Oh?
Yes, he gets Bellowing Roar should you choose it. So at 10, you can choose to empower your Cataclysm, or you can get yourself a Gul'dan-sized Fear, but it's centered on you rather than an area out in front of you, which I gotta say, where's the D&D players on the team? Hot damn, nice job including an AoE Fear on a dragon.
And then also giving this dragon a lunge ability.
Yeah.
If you're in, which
very
we'll
cool.
Get to a moment if you're in Destroyer form. Yeah, very, very cool. Let's talk about his Q, because the Q is the same regardless if you are in Destroyer or World Breaker form. The Q is called Molten Flame. There's a wind up to this. I'm sure you're noticing a pattern by now. And then you shoot a flame in a chosen direction. And it is around the highest DPS ability in the game, according to the hero's developers. It is. You are, however, locked in that position. Kyle, you mentioned Bowser.
Yeah, from Super Smash Bros.
Yeah, or Mario 64, the Bowser Fire Breath. I mean, Diablo Lightning Breath is also pretty similar.
Right, but this has a bar, and if you let it charge full, you will have a big, long, sustained fire breath. Or you can do many little fire breaths along the way, but they won't be as long in duration.
Correct. And if you do the big one, you're also going to drain your energy very quickly. So his W in Destroyer form is called Incinerate. There's another wind up on this, and then you release a pulse of flames from Deathwing's wings to all enemies in a close range. So
destroying heroes, doing damage.
Yep, kind of a melee type ability, which is what we're expecting in Destroyer form. His E, while in Destroyer form, is called Onslaught, and this is the lunge ability. You lunge forward, you slow enemies that are caught in this line, and at the end of this lunge, Kyle, because it's like a given distance, he bites. Deathwing bites whoever's at the end of this travel distance, and it deals bonus damage.
All right, so in Dungeons and Dragons, a lunge on a dragon deals 2 claws and 1 bite attack. Like, come on, show yourselves. This is pretty sweet.
Are you really mad? Are you really mad you're not coming for a dev interview this year?
Oh, dude. Yeah, man.
Send me your questions, Kyle. I will make sure to
I will. Find him. Find them. Find whoever they are for me.
I will. If it's just a high five, I'll do what I can. Let's talk about his W in his E in Worldbreaker form, though. His W is Lava Burst, and after a windup, you unleash a lava pool in a targeted area that does damage and slows. I love the graphic for this one. It's good.
Yeah.
It's good, like lava bubbling up. I love it.
It's a circle. Nice little circle effect.
It's a good circle effect. It's a good one. We've seen a lot of them, Kyle, so the fact that I'm impressed by one is, in my mind, noteworthy.
Yeah. Good for closing the door, as it were, leaving over a gate, getting an area zoned out. But this is Worldbreaker form, so you have no way to close on that enemy. You might disposition? Reposition?
Reposition? Disposition? Yeah. I'm going to go with
reposition. Because
reposition.
you're not repositioning them, but you're causing them to avoid an area. So.
Yes.
I want to use that word, though it's not real.
And then his E in Worldbreaker form is called Earth Shatter. And this is probably the one I'm the most excited about. After a small windup, you're going to stun all enemies in 2 lines in basically a V shape. So it doesn't fire out in front of you. I mean, it does fire in front of you, but it's not a straight line. It's 2 fire lines that kind of, if you imagine like the conal area, it's just the edge of the cone in a line in 2 segments. I love landing weird stuns, Kyle, and this is a weird stun, and I can't wait to learn how to use it.
Yeah, it's a bit made up, but whatever. He slams his claws down. Out from his claws come little fissures and whatnot, so it works. I
just know it looks cool. It's very visual.
When Zul'jin first came out, we didn't know the apex crosspoint very well, so most Zul'jins were aiming sideways in order to guarantee better hits. And I fully expect our early Deathwing players to be kind of a little off to the side anytime they're putting out one of these.
Yeah, same. But yeah, it looks cool, and it travels. It's not the whole line at once. So as far as counterplay options, you can see this coming and you can avoid it. In fact, you can stand in between it because it's a V shape.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any talents you wanted to highlight besides Bellowing Roar?
We don't really know a lot. There appears to be something cute at 7 having to do with your fly, and a level 20 talent allows you to maybe get all level 7 talents, which is a nice little touch.
I believe they mentioned the 16 that had a healing effect, or like you get a shield, and if the shield isn't all the way burnt down, then you gain healing at the end of it.
That's right. Yeah. Kind of a non-stasis molten core business.
Yes, it's cool, and also kind of sounds like something the hero would need. I mean, that Z is on a long cooldown, so it's your only reliable source of healing. So being able to gain some sort of control over your survivability at 16 seems a little important.
Yeah, I'm very curious. Personally, I really want to invest in the Bellowing Roar, being able to land behind an enemy, fear them, and then use Cataclysm to fly out. Seems like a really good idea. Embedding yourself deep, because you do end up on the other side. You're not, mighty gusting. You do not return to your original point. You go to the end of your ability, and it seems very dangerous to do unless you know you're going to clean house.
Yeah. I don't know. So this is basically it. I mean, that's his kit. Like you said, with all the talents have not been revealed. He's not on the PTR, so we can't do a nitty-gritty deep dive. But on like a scale of 1 to 10, dude, like how stoked are you for Deathwing? Because I don't think you or I are particularly massive Deathwing fans.
No, but he's an important fantasy to have, and it is a very unique fantasy for our game. I am absolutely thrilled about it. I think if we can continue to have these moments in Heroes of the Storm, we'll still have a place at the table, as it were. Dota it's got its roster. It doesn't mess with size much, and neither does League of Legends. And for the more casual version of those games, some might say, I think this is the sort of thing we need to be investing in. I think it's fabulous.
I agree. Not far from my favorite villain in Warcraft lore, but the video worked for me. I'm very excited about Deathwing, and I'm with you. It felt like the kind of hero like we always kind of needed Deathwing. It felt weird that Deathwing wasn't in this game, given the fame of the character. But none of that matters for me. To me, it just comes down to I get to be a giant freaking dragon, and the kit looks good, like solid, and looks like you could actually bring something to a team composition. And like you said, if the opposing team overdraft stuns, which right now in the game kind of feels like there's no such thing as too many stuns as long as you're staggering them properly, it's going to be cool to have Deathwing as a possible counter pick to that type of composition. Now that being said, I think we're like 3 months out from any of us even thinking about Deathwing in that way outside of I just want to play Deathwing or I just want to ban Deathwing. That's what it's gonna boil down to.
Definitely, but his damage is, it's held back, and without utilizing that aspect of him, particularly in an early pick with, giant killers in the world on our poke characters, no less, he may not have the strongest release. So I'm very excited that we have that option, because when you're doing, Rainbow League, you're just hanging out with friends, seeing the CC pile on coming at you is just tough to counter. What are you going to do about it? You need to have clutch cleanses. You have to have anchors and pre-thinking, and that's not capable at all leagues. If we can address that with draft, what a great place to do it.
Yeah. A couple of blue replies in regards to Deathwing. There was a post on the subreddit asking if Deathwing was the final hero because in some verbiage regarding BlizzCon and playing Deathwing on the show floor and going to the Heroes of the Storm panel, it mentioned final hero you see in the game, but they were referring to the final version of Deathwing we're seeing. And Daybringer got in there and said, hey, that's just unfortunate wording. Deathwing is not the final hero coming to Heroes of the Storm. So that's good to know. And also, the Brightwing skin was not just a joke. It's legit. It is coming to the game, and it will be hitting the game the same time as Deathwing himself, which I am ecstatic about, Kyle, because what have I been asking for? There's 2 skins for Brightwing I have been slamming my desk asking for years now, and one of them is a Deathwing Brightwing, like a Whelpling Deathwing, and I want it, and I'm getting it. Now just give me my Mutalisk Brightwing, and we can all move on with our lives.
There we go.
Please and thank you. I know we've got a Mutalisk coloration, but I want segmented carapace. I want creepy tail thing. Like, double down on it, please. Thank you. Appreciate it. So yeah. Before we move into our BlizzCon talk, Kyle, I do want to remind folks earlier than the very ass end of the episode that we are doing a BlizzCon meetup this year. Just because you are not coming, sir, doesn't mean that fans of this podcast, anything else on A-Move, and our friends around the podcast web can't come out and hang out with us. We're getting together actually the final night of BlizzCon this year, and we're doing it at the Marriott. There's just so many things going on. There's so many parties now. We're trying something different this year. We're going to hang out at the Marriott. It's a 10 p.m. official start time for the get-together. We just want to give ourselves enough time to get dinner. We don't know how late we're going to actually be on the con floor. So come hang out. We'll be in the lobby or the patio, which is straight back. If you just walk through the doors out past the lobby bar, we'll be out there. Those are the 2 places we might be. Come find us, hang out, have a drink, have a snack. Final night of BlizzCon, Saturday, November 2nd, 10 p.m. local time at the Anaheim Marriott, which is connected to the convention center. Hard to miss. Gonna be a good time. Sad you won't be there, Kyle.
Me too, but I will not be abandoning my poor wife with our newborn. So this is the year I've chosen to take off.
You and a lot of people. So let's get back into BlizzCon because we have the schedule, we have the map, and there is a Heroes of the Storm update panel on Friday at 3:15 Pacific time. And we're going to hear from the devs of the game. I'm sure it's going to be very Deathwing focused.
Yeah. It's a very short amount of time for sure.
I mean,
but
this is the standard length of a panel.
Yeah, it's true. I just,
You're getting bummed about things that are just set in stone, and this is the way things have been, and I'm surprised you're surprised about them.
I know. I think it's really just that HGC was my filler for all those years. So anytime I was on the Kong floor and I was thinking to myself, man, I need some heroes. That's why I'm here. It was always right there cooking. And yeah. I'm just feeling a little down about it. I honestly do not miss what HGC did to the game in that way. I think balance, hero design, and all these things have really accelerated the creativity of the game, has gone beyond its pro player restraints. I'm just sad for the BlizzCon experience that was Heroes of the Storm based. And it puts a lot of things into perspective, and I have a lot of desires from the other game. And with the removal of HGC, whether or not it's financially viable, I look at all other esports and go, well, what are you doing to be more entertaining than HGC was? And this is where I get to my spinning top. You know, Muradin, from release, when closing in on enemy, lifts his hammer up. That's an achievement. His hammer goes up. If he doesn't attack anything, it slowly lowers down. But the fact that Muradin winds himself up however many feet away from his A-move target and then hits his hammer is a graphical masterpiece. And yet Reinhardt is standing on the back of the payload, spinning his shield in circles, and their bodies do like this tilt bizarreness thing at the waist when they're aiming their guns. And you think that's more watchable than HGC? Come now, good sir. I say, what I really want to see from BlizzCon this year from a lot of those other games is increase in watchability. If you are making hard cut choices about what you think esports should be and what games are watchable, let's put some work into it, huh? Yeah, I mean, football's had a dancing robot for how long, and we don't have any in-between graphics? You play the same Overwatch song 20 times? Like, what is this?
I'm not sure where to start chipping away at the iceberg of opinion you just brought into the ocean, Kyle.
You can't. Your Titanic sinks compared to my iceberg. This is but what's above the
TLDR,
surface.
it's irrelevant if it's not profitable because the views aren't there. No one gives a shit.
Okay.
I mean, you of all people should understand, Kyle. You of all people should understand, as a fan of StarCraft esports, that watchability, that ease of watch does not does not equal views. If that was true, Hearthstone would be like the end all be all, most watched esport because it's so easy to understand, and visually pleasing and easy to watch. So a large portion of it comes down to your fan base, like your built-in actual player base that's interested in watching the top tier of competitive play.
Oh, Hearthstone is not removed from my critiques, good sir, because Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters came out in 2000. And why the hell am I watching PNGs and JPEGs fight when they should be hologram illusions inside of a cinematograph sphere? Like,
oh, okay, all right. Are we throwing down? Are we throwing down? Because Yu-Gi-Oh! Looks like an animated butthole. The entire art direction is horrible. It's one of the ugliest anime styles in the history of the medium, and I hate it.
Hey, it teaches kids math. Also, you're a DBZ fan, so I'll throw that back in your face.
So are you coming after DBZ?
There's some things that look like butt in there, but nothing looks as butt as season 2 of One Punch Man.
It's
so
Toriyama, dude. He did Dragon Quest.
Like I'm supposed to respect
it's like
Dragon.
Saying Mickey Mouse looks bad. Like you're coming after like a god artist.
Nah, I'm more of a Grandia man. Like what? The sticks and stones, I guess. But we can agree that. Well, I don't know. Let's not go down that road because
we're already on it. You locked the door. We're doing 80. There's no stopping.
I'm not saying I don't want to argue with you. I'm just saying if I start complaining about animes, I'm going to get myself in trouble because I got a lot of critiques looking at you, Demon Slayer. What the hell are those computer graphics? Bender spinning in space style. That's not a fight scene. Keep it hand animated. What the hell are we doing here?
Yes, I follow, Kyle. That's not It's not why we don't have HGC anymore.
No,
Is what I'm trying to get at.
I'm fully aware of the reality. To go beyond what my hopes for BlizzCon are, I want to see some investment in esports. I want to see this thing evolve. I do not find a lot of what we're doing extremely watchable. StarCraft is an exception, and we haven't moved that bar. I know that's a money thing. It's kind of weird. The scene is isolated yet growing at the same time. How do we make those more interesting? It was thrilling to me that a Hydra performs a melee attack when he's up in the face of a Zergling as in a ZVZ. Like, how can we expand that sphere, and why don't we make those investments alongside esports? When we increase prize pools, we don't go back and improve the game.
I don't, because I don't think it matters. I don't think they care if it's not for you, as long as it's for enough people. I mean, I'm not saying anything prolific here. I'm kind of describing profitability in all entertainment in a nutshell right here.
Sure.
Like, if you don't like new Star Wars, they don't care because I and enough other people like new Star Wars, or vice versa. If I don't like new Star Trek, they don't care because enough people.
Again, let's skip that conversation.
It's irrelevant though, is what I'm saying. There's no skipping. It's irrelevant. There's enough profitability in it that is fine. I mean, your complaints about like movement in Overwatch as a first-person shooter, when you're looking at the characters outside of first-person view, could be applied to any first-person shooter because they all move like that. It's a limitation of developing a first-person shooter, because you need the character to move as quickly as the player is moving the character.
So you smooth it out with graphics within graphics. You put a model over the model when I'm watching it, so it looks like it's doing more in like winky face and like,
I feel like we've changed roles, because usually I'm the grumpy one and you're the one being like, Kyle, Garrett, let's calm down and look at this realistically. It's okay that Overwatch isn't for us. I think if you and I played Overwatch as much as we play Heroes, we would watch Overwatch and we wouldn't care. Because we're no longer worried about how pretty the animations look as a spectator sport. We're looking at the nuance of the decisions made by the players and the teams.
True. Okay. All right.
I'm just trying to wind you back. Now, dude, you want to get grumpy?
Definitely.
I'm grumpy that Overwatch is what they like double down on. Like, this is where like a lot of, from the outside looking in, that's where I'm like, oh yay, this is where all the esports budget went, and we're doubling down on it. So much so that we're getting a sequel to the damn game, it looks like, and the esport to boot.
That's extra weird too, particularly when WoW is what you could say is the engine, the financing for so many of these activities. Yet WoW feels like it's maybe even slowed down or hasn't kept up with the golden child of Overwatch. And I've got my problems too, of course, because Overwatch, Here's the Storm, that kind of came out, they were, and the attention was all placed on Overwatch. Star Wars had that recent trailer where it's like the conclusion of the story of a generation. I'm like, well, whose generation? My generation? This is my story. What the hell is this? How dare you make that proclamation?
Hashtag not my Star Wars.
Invested. Hey, no, I'm not saying that. Okay,
it's basically what you're saying. I mean, it is what you're saying, but that's okay.
Yes, but I'm saying it in a different way from the people who just get mad for other reasons online. Just gauge your.
No, it's okay, Kyle. I understand you're not a sexist. You just don't like new Star Wars.
Yeah,
that's all right. That's okay.
Okay.
I'm still mad at that brand of angry Star Wars nerd for muddying the waters for us to have actual adult conversations and critiquing new Star Wars.
Totally.
But that's a conversation for another podcast. Yeah, man, I get it. I'm with you. You and I, and I think a lot of the folks we've made friends with through this podcast were from like Gen 1 Blizzard. Like, we're from the days of Blizzard, like their art. What was their art direction? It was a heavy metal album cover. Like we came for the grit, like for the the muscles and the skulls on spikes and the wizard on a mountaintop shooting lightning out of his hand. Basically, if it doesn't make sense airbrushed on the side of a panel van, I'm not into it. And that's what Overwatch is. Overwatch is this new direction. It's clean. It's beautiful, but it's not the kind of ridiculous over the top 80s fantasy that made us fans of an entire studio. I think it's important for us to recognize. And that's not to say that Gen 2 Blizzard is completely throwing that out, because they're clearly not. We're about to get a new Diablo game announced. They're not done with it. It's just that on the esport front, that's where the dollars are. And that's all right, dude. We still have StarCraft. It's still going. It's the best I think it's ever freaking been. We're just, we're Heroes fans, and it's hard sometimes. Every now and then we wake up and we're just like, oh, I just had the best stream. Oh, what a great HGC game. And then you're like, oh shit, it's 2019 and it doesn't exist. Like, it's reality check. And we also just had to watch Trixler and Jay Howe and make Gilly references on a Deathwing stream.
Nah, I mean, it was a hard dose of nostalgia that was tough to get over. So I appreciate you. I appreciate the listeners joining me for this rant. If I should have led it with what are your hopes for BlizzCon, Garrett, and then gone into my rant rather than being passionate from the get-go. But
no, it was a good talk. I mean, really what it comes down to is these feelings are bubbling up, I think, in everyone that's a Heroes of the Storm fan right now, because we're all being reminded that HGC is gone. And it does hurt. But I think what we need to dig just a little bit deeper for is the reminder that we are still fans here in November, basically, of 2019. We've been through some shit as fans of this game. So has the team that makes this game, and both the team and the fans have made it out on the other side with a game that I think is in the best state it has ever been. We're still here. We're still fans of the game. We still have a community. We still have a thriving and ever-changing game to play. To me, that was always the most important. I like esports, Kyle, but I like playing the games more. That's why esports always took a back seat in our coverage of any game we covered, and that's why we stopped doing StarCast, because there was nothing else to talk about except esports. So for me, as a fan of playing the games, I'm really happy with 2019 as far as Heroes of the Storm as a game that I play is concerned. And I think that's what's really important and what we need to remember going into BlizzCon.
That was beautiful. I agree 100%.
Cool. I told you I'd bring us back to the Shire.
That was nice. That was good. And we're changed. We're taller from drinking the water. Yeah. We've got cloaks on, real horses, not ponies. It's different. We've all got some scars.
Barn. Okay.
But some of us get to stand up and go ask the barmaid out and get married and kiss the baby at the end, right? Like,
that's what you have to remember. This is it. We are in Return of the King territory, dude. Like, some people, they're getting on that boat and we got to say goodbye to them, and it's sad, and we're sad to see them go. Others of us are about to live our best lives. It's great. I mean, I would assume that people going on the boat are also about to go and live their best lives.
They're making like a mini series, or there's those video games. So they're sequels,
Yeah, we're also getting an Amazon series, right? Yes. Is that a prequel?
Is that a prequel?
It's a prequel, I think.
I think it's a prequel. So I'm talking about Shadows of Mordor, because that's a sequel.
I don't know. It's
because the Shadows.
It's weird. The idea of more Lord of the Rings anything surprises me. back to BlizzCon. I don't know. I don't know what to expect. I think it's going to be pretty Deathwing heavy. And then I think we're going to get a little bit of number crunchy nerdiness for the diehard Heroes of the Storm fans. And we're going to hear a little bit about what to expect from our kind of end of the year patch that we're used to getting. I still think they're gonna mess with the lane again, Kyle. It's coming. It's going to happen.
Yeah, they know they want to change the 1v1 matchup. They want to empower the solo lane, particularly in what sort of reward you get when you push out. And it used to be ammo. We could see ammo return. I don't think they're beyond that, honestly. I think they wouldn't interact it with talents if they did bring it out, and that would be a smart choice. We'll likely see the orb thing, because that seems to be the idea they grabbed onto the most.
Yeah, I think we're gonna hear about that. Is what I'm like. That's kind of my call. I know there's been a lot of talk and hopes about like a Heroes of the Storm auto chess. I even saw, you know, our friend of the show, Trixler, tweeting about it. I think that's a tall order. That's above my hopes for what to expect from this BlizzCon.
I do think there is a world where that happens, but it's the BlizzCon or Blizzard phone app, and they basically shotgun us with all the games you could possibly want to play on a phone. So we bury Immortal in there as well. So you got your Hearthstone, but also while you're in that app, you can launch Diablo Immortal. And then is it using Here's the Storm assets? Maybe not. Maybe it's using Warcraft 3 Reforged assets, but some sort of mobile game in that department.
I would assume if they are working on that you would use your most recent isometric engine, which would be Reforged, which, by the way, the models coming out of that, they look really solid.
Oh, models are my number one spoilers in the world. I've been avoiding it, but I saw Kel'Thuzad on a motorbike and it looked amazing.
Kel'Thuzad on a motorbike?
Yeah, like on a motorcycle. Like
Why?
Well, because there's racing. Remember the custom games? There's like racing, and then there's like sheep slayers and war chasers.
Oh, you know me, dude. I barely played any custom games, but good to know. Good to know.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. I'm really excited to play that thing.
Liches on motorcycles coming this summer to what is like the motorcycle shows on? What channel is that? I don't know. I got nothing.
What, you mean like choppers and stuff?
Yeah, like what channel was West Coast Choppers on? I can't make my joke now. It's been ruined. It's over. The time.
I watch Hulu, so
the moment has passed.
Really
I don't know, man. I've never been a bike guy. Can't help me.
So I've my tinfoil hope. It's my unwrapped tinfoil hat now.
Tinfoil
My
hope
is that we empower esports with better graphics, cool things in the future, make that the future of watching. Is there anything on your hope list that you think is beyond the WoW expansion, Overwatch 2, Diablo 4?
Not really. Nothing that I think that's realistic. No, I really would like Blizzard's take on auto chess. I would like it to be a riff on Heroes of the Storm that bridges all of the Blizzard IP, because I feel like if you're going to do it, why not? Like, why Hearthstone limits itself to only only Warcraft? It kind of boggles my mind. I think it would be fun if it was also an IP mashup, but it isn't. So yeah, if we ever, I would love to see Blizzard's spin on auto chess, because it seems like it's right up their alley. It's the type of game that Blizzard does very well, and then unfortunately, it's also the kind of trend that Blizzard does very late. So I don't know. I feel like if auto chess happened next year, there'd be a pretty good chance that we would get a timely Blizzard version of it. But I don't think with everything that went down this year, there's a chance that Blizzard was spry enough. I'd be happy to be wrong. I'd be very happy to be wrong. But it's been a hell of a year for that studio.
That's fair.
So that's kind of my thought on that. But I'd love to see it. I mean, what I want is a new StarCraft game that isn't an RTS. And the only thing I got this year was news that they were making one, and it has since been canceled. So I've been hurt before. I got hurt again this year, and I'm not going to dare hope and get hurt again, Kyle.
You know, I've got a hope in that department that maybe there's this game called Diablo and a randomly generated zone. We fall from above onto it. And as we kill each other, we collect the abilities that other people may have been using and pick up their loot. And we run around until there's one person alive.
Are you describing a Diablo Battle Royale, Kyle?
I am, but I don't want to use that word because that's, a heavy word, Battle Royale.
Well, I mean, it's not timely at all at this point, so it's probably exactly what they're going to announce.
Exactly.
No, I'm just being a jerk. Oh, wonderful. Anyways, so Deathwing is done, Kyle. What's the next like meme character that we're gonna just keep beating the drum of until we get it in the game?
Right. I had Kel'Thuzad, who didn't match my fantasy with the quest mechanic, but that's fine. Luckily, Mal'Ganis was right up my alley. I've been playing him all the time. I've been loving him. And those were my 2 requests. I got one still floating out there, and that's Manaroth. I want to see the Pit Lord galloping along. I think that Howl of Terror, we don't have a base kit that lowers damage yet, so I think there's room for it. Unless I'm mistaken, there's plenty of talents that, of course, Uther and Shrink Ray and stuff like that. But on a base kit, I can't think of anything that lowers damage. And Howl of Terror would look pretty good there. As for the meme character, Overmind, I think, is the next one on everyone's list.
Yeah. It feels weird that we don't have a Pit Lord. It would be odd to see it follow up Deathwing, have 2 chunky boys back to back.
It doesn't seem their style.
No. But I mean, we've gotten tons of vaguely human-sized characters back to back, so I don't see why we couldn't have 2, thick boys.
Totally.
In a row.
Totally.
I would still really like to see something specifically out of Hearthstone, because they have quite a few unique characters now.
And where would you take that?
I don't really care where it goes. I just want someone that is Hearthstone specific to be represented in the Nexus.
I mean, the Innkeeper's just cute. He'd be galloping along with his little booklet and his cards and his mouse.
I straight up think the Innkeeper, we've talked about it before, I think the Innkeeper should be like the Pokemon trainer from Smash Brothers. I think there should be like 3 heroes, and the Innkeeper kind of decides which one goes out on the field at any given moment. So you could have like Elise Starseeker, you could have Rafam, and you could have like Reno Jackson, like as like 3 different types of heroes. Like maybe Reno's a healer, Elise is some kind of, well, I guess Reno is now kind of like a mage, but when I think Reno, I think healing your ass to full, because that was OG
you're
Reno.
You're talking about like he's in the core kind of area, not the core, but
like the Innkeeper's just hanging out in your fountain, and then he throws a card down and a character pops out of it, and that's what you actually go out and control, and you can recall them and put new ones out on the field, or decide to spawn as a diff character from his deck. That's
a cute idea. I hadn't thought of it like that, because the second I think Innkeeper, I think of Summoner, and because he's got such a balance to him, he's kind of Santa Claus. He's going around, and then you go to play the Footman, but it's like, oh, epic, and he plays that, and it turns out to be some epic instead, and that rolls out and summons kind of Asmodan Demon style heading down the way. If you don't like your 4 abilities, you channel, shuffle your deck, and get yourself a new one.
Ooh, Dr. Boom would be cool. I mean, technically Dr. Boom originated in World of Warcraft, but we all only give a crap about him because of Hearthstone. So
yeah,
Dr. Boom would be rad. Yeah, I'd like that. That's like a high hope hero, because I would assume if that's the way they did it, that would be a lot of work to figure out what the unique kits and how you would balance that. But I'd love to see that, Kyle.
I mean, if we're talking, because there's also like Archimon, Kil'jaeden, there's these big Sargeras.
I say Sargeras as well, Kyle.
I like Geras. You got Sargent, you got Sargeras, right? Like, I don't know.
I just pronounced it that way forever.
Yeah, exactly. But at any rate, you got big guy. Other than big guys, I'd really like to see Cenarius. I think he'd be really cool. Maybe galloping through terrain, through the woods, as it were. Maybe it's a little Trident, Tranquility-esque. Maybe some overlap with Malfurion. He's taken all the abilities. I know Reinhardt is in a lot of people's minds. I think Belial's presence in Diablo 3 was great, but his stock is very low.
Yeah, it is. Reinhardt's still very high at the top of my list. I know I'm not the biggest Overwatch fan in the world, but I still like the characters. And Reinhardt is my jam. Love that dude. Love his whole demeanor, his voice. And I want a giant channeled shield in my Heroes of the Storm. I still want it.
Yeah.
They haven't eaten his lunch with a different hero. I was worried that maybe we'd get another hero at some point that would have a Reinhardt-esque shield ability. It hasn't come, Kyle. There's still hope.
I still remember that, speaking of shields, when they announced Li Ming, all my hopes were on that time bubble, because that thing was so cool in Diablo 3, watching the projectiles slow down as it passed through. But maybe intense for a multiplayer experience.
Yeah, indeed. So, anyways, man, I mean, we're basically at the end of the show here. That was a long chat.
We've talked about some things. We've been on an emotional roller coaster, and I don't think it's over in the least. I think BlizzCon has some bizarre surprises in store. And if it's everything we expect, well, then there's some new games to be had. I'm certainly excited for Diablo. If there's more, though, gosh, I'm really excited for that.
What do you mean if there's more?
Like, just things I couldn't possibly imagine. Basically, I don't want to point at heads. That's not my life. I don't do the gunplay. But if they got anything top down, man, I'll be head over heels for it.
I want a third-person game from Blizzard that isn't an MMO.
Like Dark Souls?
There were rumblings that Diablo 4 was being built that way, and I kind of hope that it's still that, although I doubt it will be. I think it's just going to be isometric again. I'll still play it, but... Diablo, StarCraft. 2 vibrant, extremely interesting worlds crafted by Blizzard. We've only ever seen them from the top down in an official capacity. I want to get down into the world, Kyle. I want a sense of scale. I want to walk through those doorways, not just look down at them. I want to be in it.
Yeah.
That's what I hope to see. But it sure is looking like we're getting Diablo 2 remastered, which, if nothing else, I finally get to play that damn game all the way through.
Nothing's stopping you right now.
The game looks like butt. That's stopping me right now. And I don't have the nostalgia that you do to muscle through it.
Yeah, I guess.
It looks bad.
Yeah.
It's hideous.
I've got my, people always tell me to play like Chrono Trigger, and I can't. That's weird.
Yeah, that's Diablo 2 for me. It was the game. I didn't have a computer at the time that could run it, so I would play it over at my friends' houses, and I thought it was awesome at the time, but I never had hours to devote to it. It was like an hour here and there when I was hanging out with my buddies and we were bored. And then we had the demo on it. We had the demo on all of the computers at school. We went around and installed them in all the iMacs. But that was it.
I didn't know that Joey Hairdo's designed Chrono Trigger as well.
I didn't know that was Toriyama. Let's see. Chrono Trigger.
I'm not purposely pooping on him.
I never played Chrono Trigger. Oh God, yeah. This is obvious as hell now that I look at it. Yeah, of course it's Toriyama. What do you have against Toriyama, Kyle?
The big heads bother me, man. Yeah, they got too much space between their eyes and their hair.
But you like Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, I do. I also didn't have cable growing up, so I couldn't watch Dragon Ball Z. I had Yu-Gi-Oh on WB. So, Yu-Gi-Oh was there for me, man.
You must like GoBots. You're like the kid that got stuck with the budget stuff. And you're like me and Genesis. All my friends had SNES. I was the only kid with Genesis. And I would fight you tooth and nail that Genesis was better because that's what I had.
All right. Yeah. There's probably quite a bit of that. I don't think I was GoBots. I had Robotech? Robotech. Robotech was pretty decent.
I'm not going to step to Robotech. Robotech's legit.
Transformers.
Yeah,
Transformers was good.
You're thinking of Transformers. Yeah. I was a Transformers kid.
Yeah. I mean, Beast Machines. That was good.
I mean, we really just described tribalism.
Beast Machines is the bad one. Beast Wars is the good one.
Beast Wars is fantastic. Beast Machines is crap.
Yeah, it made no sense.
Yeah, we just described tribalism, Kyle. That's all we just did.
Yeah. That's
you have X, I have Y. I'm going to defend Y because it's all I have.
Yeah. That's fair.
Done. We figured it out. We solved all the world's problems here on today's Into the Nexus and also informed you about Deathwing's abilities. We hope you learned something today.
Perfect.
That's going to wrap it up for the show. Keep emailing us, everybody. This was a thick one. We knew it was going to be. There's a lot to talk about regarding Deathwing and BlizzCon. But keep the emails coming. The address to send that to is itncast@gmail.com. Also, one of the perks you get if you're a patron is access to the patron-only Discord. You can drop us messages in there directly. Skip the inbox entirely. Patreon.com/ITN for that. While we're thanking you for supporting us, by the way, huge thanks to our producers as well. Declan H, Cheesy Bob, Chris K, and Robert M. Thank you so much for your support. You can catch us live typically on Thursdays at 3 p.m. Eastern time now, but that's not happening this week because, Kyle, I will be on a plane to BlizzCon and then actually at BlizzCon on Thursday. I mean, technically it doesn't start till Friday, but I will be at Con Before the Storm kicking off the World of Podcasts, the first panel of the night, the all Blizzard panel. It's a fantastic panel. Go to conbeforethestorm.com for more information, and I'll see you there. You can catch me there as well. I'll be hanging out. Have nothing else to do that night, so I'll probably just be chilling in the Hilton at Con Before the Storm most of the evening. So you can find me there. I'll be on the con floor. If you see me, say hi. Please wear an Into the Nexus shirt because then I will come say hi to you and request the highest of fives. Or a huzzah. If you huzzah me like Kyle, I've been told by Kyle to give you the Spartan handshake.
That's true.
Yeah, must be done. It must be done. It's going to be a good time. Yeah, so check it out, and then we'll be back the following week with a normal show, talking about BlizzCon, a normal day, normal time. Follow the podcast on Twitter at ITNcast. Kyle, before we go, you do things that aren't Into the Nexus. Where can everybody find you?
You can find me over at twitch.tv/Kyle Ferguson playing Heroes of the Storm Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Shows will continue as I will not be at BlizzCon, so you can also find There Will Be Dungeons on Sunday and other shows and such. Going to be playing a little bit of Magic the Gathering this week as well.
That is awesome. I played a little bit of that before I left to go help Katie at her trade show, and I want more hours, Kyle. Magic Arena is really good.
Yeah.
Like, exceptional. It is an exceptional way to play Magic the Gathering. It's so good.
It's solid. It's very giving if you're a free-to-play player, and you can draft. And that's what I need.
You can draft and you can seal. That's what I want out of my Magic. Folks, I'm on Twitter at GarrettArt, GarrettArt. That's where you follow me on the Twitter. AMove.tv for everything else. New Angry Chicken coming at you tomorrow. A new Let's About. Oh, my God. Kyle, you ever try to make it through a burp and it doesn't happen?
Yes.
That just happened. Let's Talk About Star Wars.
Good chunk of my life right now.
A new Let's Talk About Star Wars just went out yesterday, talking all about that final Rise of Skywalker trailer, which is amazing, and you should all not listen to Kyle because he's objectively wrong. And
they just got a kiss.
Who? Poe and Finn? Yes,
Reylo.
I agree. Oh, Reylo.
Oh, right.
I'm shipping Poe and Finn.
Oh, why not? Well, why not? Why not? That's fine.
No, Kylo's toxic, man. That's Rey's. She's beyond that. She figured it out.
He's a bad boy,
Tell me you watched the Reylo video and the song.
That you sent me?
Yes.
I did.
Okay,
I
fantastic.
don't remember much.
We haven't talked about it since.
No.
You just reminded me of it. Anyways, that's going to do it for this episode of Into the Nexus. I hope you all enjoyed. We'll be back next week talking everything BlizzCon and Deathwing. But until then, good luck and have fun.
Take care.